Hello and welcome today to a more political discussion. So yesterday the German government decided what they will subsidize to kind of mitigate the effects of the corona crisis. And well, most importantly, if you're interested in electric cars, they decided not to subsidize fossil cars. And I think that's a good decision, and I just want to go over the facts why I think so. So, what started my research was a statement by Herbert Diess. Let's just go back a little bit.
Die einzigartig ist, weil wir können auch einen großen Beitrag zu dem besseren Umweltschutz leisten. Die Fahrzeuge, die wir im Jahr 2020 absetzen, emittieren rund 100 Gramm CO2 im Durchschnitt. Und wenn wir mal 10 Jahre zurückblicken, dann waren das 150 etwa. Das heißt, wir machen 30% Fortschritt.
Okay, so what he said, fossil cars of today will emit 30% less CO2 than fossil cars of 2010, so just 10 years ago. And when I heard that, I thought, this doesn't quite line up with my experience. So, I went back even 20 years to give the good man a chance, and I decided to compare the CO2 emissions, I went over the fuel consumption because that's the more available number. I looked at the fuel consumption of the old VW Golf 3. And yeah, you can see that in Wikipedia. I just trust they used VW's official figures in this table here. So I went over the entire table and took the average over all these numbers for petrol and diesel. And I did just the same for the Golf 7, which isn't the newest Golf, but it's a recent Golf. There's not much happening from Golf 7 to Golf 8. And the reason I did this was to have a large enough base for reality comparison, to take a slightly older model. So, I calculated all those fuel consumption figures, and then I went to Spritmonitor. And Spritmonitor is a site where people voluntarily enter the fuel consumption or enter the amount of kilometers driven and the amount of petrol put into their tank to arrive at an average consumption figure. And you see it starts pretty low at some guy who didn't understand the concept, and then people who use the plug-in versions and apparently charge them quite regularly. So this is a very broad average over all models, diesel and petrol, electrified or not. And Spritmonitor evaluates the figures and gives you average consumption figures for this particular model. And well, not actually the Golf 7 model, but I just started at 2015 to arrive at the Golf 7. And I did likewise up to 2000 to have only numbers for the Golf 3, pretty much. So from that I got some reality numbers, like how much fuel do the cars actually need, as opposed to what VW says they consume. And I put all that in an Excel sheet, well, not Excel, of course, LibreOffice, and did some math on it. So the Golf 3 petrol car, on average, all models 1.4 to V6, 3 liters or something, on average consumes 7.9 liters per 100 kilometers, according to VW, on average. And according to Spritmonitor, the real data, they consume 7.94. So VW's figure is actually quite accurate. They just consume 1% more than VW says. And likewise for the diesel version, that used to consume 5.4 liters, and VW says it's 5.4. There's almost no error at all in what they said. Now let's look at the Golf 7. So according to Volkswagen, it needs less petrol and less diesel than the older version. According to Spritmonitor, there's not much in it. And the diesel consumption has actually risen. So there's quite a difference between what VW says nowadays their cars consume to what they actually consume. So the petrol version consumes 19% more than VW says, and the diesel version consumes 35% more than what VW says. And so overall, they just got better in faking the numbers. I mean, we know various scandals, tweaking the software or tweaking the test environment to spit out low fuel consumption figures. That's what they got good at. The engines did not improve. Period. They might have gotten more power from the same displacement, but the fuel consumption has not changed a bit. So, according to VW, the petrol Golf doesn't even reach Herbert Diess's claimed 30% figure in savings, and by far it does not in reality. And like I said, the diesel Golf consumes more than it used to consume. Now, I mean, you could argue, yes, it's a bigger car nowadays, it's heavier, it's more powerful, la-di-da. But that is what's going to happen. If people scrap their old Golf and buy a new Golf, they will buy a thirstier car, no matter what the reasons are. Okay, so that's the first part, what I want to say. And now, since I had the figures, I thought I would go over another aspect. And that's the concept of environmentally friendly petrol or fossil cars. And I think there is no such thing. So, I did some more math. Because you can also find the e-Golf, both official figures and actual figures. You see that they didn't cheat as much for the e-Golf as they did for the diesel Golf. Yeah, diesel seems to inspire cheating for some reason. I do drive a diesel car, by the way, so I don't think I'm a great eco-mentalist here, but just about figures. It's not my opinion, I just present figures. So, to compare the efficiency of electric drivetrains versus petrol drivetrains, I thought I would just take these consumption figures, convert them to kilowatt hours, and see what we get. So to start out, I started with an electric drivetrain, which is claimed to have like 80 or 85% efficiency. It doesn't matter too much because the figures here will change as well as you change it around. So, I assume from this 85% you can go back to how much energy is actually needed to move a car around. So, if the e-Golf needs 14.85, then 85% of this energy is actually needed to move the car. That's where we start out at. This is what we need, and this is what we consume. So, a petrol Golf, and I took the consumption figures from the new one, is apparently 20% efficient. So, to generate these 12 kilowatt hours, or we can just talk about kilowatts, these 12.6 kilowatts to move the car, you need to put in 63 kilowatts of petrol power, so to speak, to move the car. So we just have a 20% efficiency figure. yeah, and how did I arrive at that number? I took the consumption here and multiplied it with the energy content of 1 liter of petrol, and that's 8.5. Now, to my surprise, I always thought diesel was more efficient, but it isn't. So, yes, at first it looks like the diesel car needs less fuel, because it needs less liters of fuel, but it also has a higher energy density, 10.4 kilowatt hours per liter. And therefore, we put in almost the same amount as into the petrol engine and also arrive at a 20% efficiency figure. So this is calculated from actual data. And I know there's better efficiency figures out there, like I think some diesel engines claim to be 40% efficient, but that is only in very, very specific operating areas, like at 2000 RPM and at full load or something, or almost full load. So these peak figures are pretty much meaningless. And that's different for electric motors. They will vary between, like, let's say 75 and 90. Or if you take the motor alone, it will vary between 87 and 95% efficiency. So there's not much difference between peak and average. Yes. So what you can see, the electric drivetrain is just 4 times more efficient than the fossil drivetrain, and there just is not much more in it. Maybe you can arrive at 30% efficiency with like hybrid models and further optimizations of the combustion process, but you will never even get close to this figure that electric cars are at. Yes. So you have the pure efficiency from fuel to movement. Then there's pretty much a lack of making petrol efficiently from renewable energy. You can make petrol from renewable energy, but it's a really, really inefficient process. It's just much more efficient to convert sun to electricity, or convert wind to electricity, wind energy is sun energy. There would be no wind without sun. Yes. So yeah, there is no real plan to make combustion engines environmentally friendly. It's just not possible. So the whole concept of environmentally friendly fossil cars is absurd. And in fact, you could even argue that electric cars, depending on your baseline, are not environmentally friendly because they are very, like any car, they need quite a lot of resources to be dug up to be made. We need resources to power them, and if you want to be like eco-friendly, you would take your bike or go by train. Yeah, that would be really environmentally friendly. Yes, but yeah, that's how it is. That's what the numbers say. So I hope you liked this little excursion into a rather political issue. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say for today. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye bye.